kind of most important part of it.
Just
everything. There we go.
Just under the wire, Malcolm. We made it.
Excellent.
Just under the wire, and I think you might want to get a little closer to your mic.
Oh, okay.
But people are loading in. Yeah, you hear a muffled Malcolm.
Is this better?
Kind of. Say some stuff.
Some stuff?
How's that, Chris?
That's the kind of wit we're just going to fill the internet with today.
Yeah, it's still just a tad muffled. You're using your onboard mic?
No. Yeah, I guess so. Hold on. Maybe I'm using the camera one. Maybe I'm not using that. Let me see. Can you change what mic you're using?
You can. If you go down to you're using a, everyone gets to hear us do some pre-show tech work. But yeah, if you go down to the bottom right and you click on your, yeah.
Okay, how about...
Is this better or worse?
Oh, better. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, it's definitely better. Say some more stuff.
Some more stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. 100 times better.
Okay, that's what it was. Alrighty. Maybe I can lean back. Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah. Sounding good. Well, yeah. So it's time. Let me remove your modesty shield so everyone can see that today we have a special guest. It's really your show, honestly. It's Malcolm.
How's it going, folks?
I am in the midst of a move right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. It's the absolute worst. How about I turn off this? Wow, that music is something.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we were availing ourselves of the Restream, which is the tool that we use. The Restream sort of procedurally generated music, and it's a hit or miss. That was some pretty funky. Something you'd hear maybe at some kind of a key party where everyone gets together and they exchange.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
They take keys off their keyboard and then they exchange them, right? And then they.
Yeah, the kids are going to believe that, Troy.
I don't think the kids know what the hell I'm talking about, but it is.
I barely do.
Yeah, same. I really don't know. The implications of what I say, and that is the case on most days. But yeah, so this is ThursdAGE, a Modern Age episode, and we've got Malcolm Sheppard, who is the lead designer for Modern Age, and I am your disembodied pal, Troy, and I'm here to heckle and help Malcolm heckle, and also just to welcome everybody to the stream, and to remind everyone, no matter where you're watching, take a minute and like the video. And if you're over on YouTube, subscribe, give us all the hearts if there are hearts to be given. If you're over on Twitch, you want to subscribe as well, and share. If you're on Twitter, you'll no doubt have noticed that we are streaming live there. And unfortunately, I don't know when people are watching, and I don't think we have any kind of real interface that allows us to chat with people on Twitter, which, I mean, honestly, who wants to chat with people on Twitter? But that's a joke. We love everybody on Twitter, most everybody. Yeah, I mean, a percentage of people. But do me
is a thing that has people on it, and
that's true.
And many of them are great people.
Yes, many of them are, and even some of the great ones are. Sometimes insufferable on Twitter, but that's the way it works. But if you're over there, share it, give it a tweet, share it with your network as well. Chris says, "Hey, Malcolm."
Hey.
So look at our friend.
And Rain, I see you. It's good to see you again. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah, that was just recently, right?
Yes, it was. We were talking about the Modern Age Mastery Guide. and other stuff. I think we went pretty deep into like game design meta stuff.
It was
So,
phenomenal. And if you haven't heard that, maybe you can drop a link in chat. And if you are tuning in, make sure you check out chat, even if you're watching this at a later time, because a lot of the magic happens in chat. And so we'll have links and all kinds of good stuff there.
yeah.
But yeah, that's one of my favorite podcasts is to listen to and to heckle even a little, as is my way.
Mm.
So what do we got cooking today? A lot, right?
I don't know. This is your idea.
Yeah, I mean, we got all kinds of. Believe me, my recipe for today is just add some Malcolm, because honestly, we can sit and talk about all manner of things. It'll be interesting and fascinating. Our friend David Bodie says, "Good afternoon, ThursdAGians." I like that. We were going with like Thursdalians, but ThursdAGians sounds like we're old thirsty people.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, honestly,
Can I drop links in this thing?
you sure can. Yeah. Just you can write in the chatty chat.
Okay, where do I see? I'm not usually here, so now you get to witness me fumble with the interface.
It's all good. Now, if you can't, now that I think of it, I've never been a guest on my own, sort of setup here. So if you want to drop it in the private chat, I'm happy to drop it over there. If you don't see an immediate way to drop a link.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Bing. Yeah. So that's just the Patreon link for the Aegis podcast, which
nice. Where did you drop it?
I'm just sending it.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So
nice.
I had a fantastic time there, and of course they cover age, which is an inherently virtuous act.
Truth.
Truth. So,
yeah.
What we were talking about, Troy and I, when it was decided that I would be on here today, was just to tell you what's going on with Modern Age, and I can answer questions that you might have. And also, when I have been kind of touring the podcasts and the streams, I have occasionally talked about new stuff that's come out or is coming out. And this is sort of a good opportunity to collect that and make these announcements kind of come from the source. So the first thing, I guess, would be to talk about what just dropped today. Bundle of holding. So there's the Expanse Modern Age bundle of holding that happened today.
I'll drop that link shortly.
Yeah. So that's a great opportunity to get a bunch of Modern Age stuff. And also, we also have this game based on an obscure science fiction property called The Expanse. I know not many people have heard of it. I think there's a television show.
I'm not sure, really. That's
yeah. But people seem to find it fairly popular, so we're just gonna throw that a bone there.
Sure, yeah.
It's nothing compared to the Titan that is Modern Age, of course. I can't keep the joke up anymore. Anyway, there are a couple of great games in there, and in terms of the Modern Age stuff you get, yeah, oh, that's good stuff. I keep forgetting all the things I made for this game because it's been sort of chugging along for a while. So you get the core book, the companion, which has a whole bunch of rules options. You get the threefold setting. That is the big sort of portal fantasy, multi-genre fantasy, horror, cyberpunk dimension traveling setting that is sort of our flagship setting. It's basically the setting that we made so that you could use all of the options in the game. There's enemies and allies, which is kind of like our monster manual, except that it's more oriented toward non-player character types as well. And we split things up by genre, and we also have supporting rules for each of the genres covered. And those are modern fantasy and horror and kind of action techno thriller and crime, police, and near future science fiction, cyberpunk. And is that all of them? I think that's all of them. It's a nice book. And finally, there is the first of the Modern Age missions, which is our series of adventures that aren't tied to any ongoing setting, and that is Warflower. And that is a good adventure that'll last you probably, I'd say 3 sessions. And we get the Game Master's kit. So that is a really good chunk of stuff.
Sure
and
is, yeah.
Warflower allows me to segue to the fact that, we actually have a couple of other Modern Age missions that are out. Now, I didn't develop these because I didn't have time at the time, and because I knew a really, really good developer, Megan Fitzgerald, and I've worked with her on other projects at Green Ronin and elsewhere, and so she's done the development for 2 of the subsequent adventures. One of the subsequent adventures was the Feral Hogs adventure, based on a meme that is probably a little long in the tooth, but we're gonna beat a dead wild boar out of it. 30 to 50 wild. And so that's another starter, and that's a nifty kind of post-apocalyptic backcountry fever dream of an adventure. And then we have Flight 1701, which is a cool alien counter adventure, and then we have Assault on the Eyrie, which is a nice, super cool, high level storming the fortress semi-fantastical adventure, designed by Steve Kenson, I believe. One of the things that we were a little slow to start with Modern Age was adventure support. So now we pretty much have that covered. So there's a mess of adventures.
All right, so they're $4.99 in the Green Ronin online store. And a real quick question: so how long are each of these? Do they vary in length, or?
Probably Warflower is a bit longer than the other ones, and that's because I over-designed the adventure. That's the one that I wrote. But I was like, no, there have to be at least 2 well-developed paths to get to the conclusion. So they're like 2 parallel kind of scene trees. So that makes it a little bigger. But the rest of them, I think, are a certain number of pages. Let me look that up.
Yeah. So we've got Feral Hogs is 15 pages.
Yeah, I think the other ones are about 15 pages, and okay. Warflower is 20 something.
Gotcha.
But don't quote me on that, even though I am literally appearing on a stream where I'm supposed to be quoted. But don't.
Yeah, please don't. Yeah, no. But and also it's right there up. So the flight, Flight 1701 is 16 pages. So yeah, thereabouts. Gosh, the art is great. Wow.
Yeah, we've gotten some good art. The line, and it's been consistent. And I will take the tiniest smidgen of credit, because one of the things that I wanted to do when we were getting Modern Age together is to get the iconic characters kind of fully designed. So each of them has a name and a role, and things they appear in. So they're there for examples, and the illustrations of them are the same across multiple things, and that kind of promotes a common style and everything else, right? So,
looking at this real quick, and for people, I always like to just leave a little bit of resource or information for people who are like, "What is this Modern Age?" But here we've got Feral Hogs, more of a contemporary, and then you've got a crashed jet, and then is that a dragon?
Yep. Well, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Some kind of fantasy beast, a fantastic beast. And that's the kind of the beauty of Modern Age, right? The Modern Age spans a quite a few, quite a few genres of time.
Yeah, of all the age lines, I think Modern Age is really the one where we encourage you to kind of, go and monkey with the system fundamentals and do what you like with it. That's why, for example, we have the modes, right? So I guess for those of you who are not sure what Modern Age is kind of designed to cover from the, if you stretch it, you can do the 18th century, and then that goes on to the near future, right? And because there isn't really a modern genre, right, we provide tools to support various genres. And, one of those is the modes, which are color coded in various books that are gritty, pulpy, and cinematic, which affect how lethal the game is and how a bunch of other systems work, right? One of the things, for example, I like to point out is that in gritty and pulpy, if you're running away from a car, the car is probably going to catch up. In cinematic, you have the advantage of those quick cuts that make it look like you can somehow outrun the car. And we actually have different chase systems.
Well, no, I love that.
Right? So, you've got some stuff like that. So we have a bunch of tools to support various genres, like Enemies and Allies and the Companion have a bunch of optional systems for that. So we lean hard into making it customizable.
Speaking of which, leaning into that, sort of allowing players or people who are consumers who are kind of getting into Modern Age, we also have a resource that Rain brings up, which is hopefully we'll see more adventures crop up in the Age Creators Alliance. Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, you launched the Age Creators Alliance.
I did indeed.
Yes. So now, of course, we're looking for people to contribute primarily adventure setting content for age lines. We're just kind of seeing how this way of doing things, how these kind of partnerships work, and then we'll see what we do with the rules and the kind of material we like as we move forward. We're bopping around with a few ideas. One thing I'm kind of interested in is seeing, and before I say this, you do not have permission to do this. This is just something I'm interested in.
And this is that's an important thing to say, just not to put too fine a point on it, but remember, folks, that we like to be able to explore the world of possibilities while making sure everyone understands that these are still in sort of process, being digested. And
the threefold setting has a whole bunch of planes, right? Different alternative realities. And I have been noodling maybe ways for people to make their own planes and to submit their index numbers, because for those of you familiar with the threefold setting, the sodality, which is one of the primary factions in the game, gives every plane an index code that is 5 digits long. Well, I have a spreadsheet with all of the used up index codes for all of the planes that have been mentioned in prior material. So
nice.
I have thought of perhaps an option where you can make up your own plane and we can log it in the planner index with its code to go alongside the other ones.
How cool.
We're not there yet, but it's something that I'm thinking of.
Brian says, as soon as I can crack the layout, I have a few Modern Age post-apocalyptic adventures ready to go. Yeah, that's cool. Fantastic. That's fantastic.
That's definitely a genre that we haven't touched so much, except with Feral Hogs. But Feral Hogs definitely takes a comedic thing, right? Because most post-apocalyptic settings don't have Amazon distribution centers as fortresses and don't have energy drinks that give you psychic powers. So
truth, that's true. Yeah. So awesome. Okay, well, that's good stuff. And that's go ahead.
That's kind of what we have out now that could probably use a bit of a boost. But I kind of wanted to sit down a couple of things that are, coming real soon now, or coming, reliably soon in the future. Generally, what I like to do is I don't like to talk about things until all of the text is kind of ready to go into the production process. And I think sometimes that makes promotion a little difficult, but I kind of want to be super sure. But
Oh yeah, I get it. And you've been doing this for a while. You've been hurt before. Like you kind
I've been
of
hurt
you want.
before,
Yeah.
it hasn't all been funky procedural music in my life. But anyway, so the big thing is, and this is available for pre-order, and I think it is, flitting its way on various cargo containers and trucks and things to different places now, is the Modern Age Mastery Guide. So the Modern Age Mastery Guide is kind of a companion to the Modern Age Companion and a companion to the core book. And that's a lot of companion for something that is in the Modern Age Companion. So I'll tell you what it is. Basically, I have always kind of disliked the idea that Game Master Guides and dedicated non-core player guides are two separate books. Because first of all, the GM always has to get the player's guide if the player's guide is going to be used in a game. And second, it's not as if GMing advice and guidelines and optional systems are big secrets or anything. So I wanted them to be together in one book, and I wanted the guidance given to players and game masters to be consistent with one another. So the Mastery Guide is about half the material is for players and about half of it is for game masters. And I would think about half of it is advice and half of it is systems oriented too. And we have a whole bunch of rules options embedded in there, ranging from ways to play the game diceless to, in fact, what we consider official updates to the Modern Age core system that we kind of settled on after a couple of years of continual play, right? For context of my personal relationship with Modern Age, as recreation-wise, I did run the game a number of times, and not just one shots. I did run short campaign, and in it. But mostly, what I've been doing is I've been playing it. I wrote about it over on our blog, but I played a year-long Modern Age campaign. It just went on hiatus. Where we went from levels 1 to 10, and I learned a lot from that. Because we did, of course, do playtesting for Modern Age for the core, but there's only a limited amount that you can do, even in ideal conditions, and it doesn't necessarily carry the qualitative elements of being able to see what character progression within the game actually looks like, looking at the decisions that other players, that my friends have to make, and having to make those decisions, and also seeing how game masters who are not me interpret the rules, right? So all of that has been super useful, and that contributed to some rules updates. We made stunt attack a little beefier. We added a couple of talents and focuses, and we've addressed some of the imbalance between damage and health that occurs as you level in Modern Age. Now, a lot of that can be dealt with, of course, through mode. If you're familiar with Modern Age, mode does affect how much health you get on each level. But we also have certain kind of alternative options as well. So I will say my personal preference, having a year down the line, is I think pulpy mode is the one that I enjoy the most. Just because it does, things are dangerous, but you have a little bit of a buffer. So, but aside from the mechanical stuff, where we do things like let's say you want Modern Age with character classes. Jesse Hennig, who is an amazing game designer, and in fact, he's the person who hired me for my very first project.
Oh, really?
Yes, back in 1999.
Nice.
He did some excellent work about how to build out your character through things like quirks and psychological traits, and also, you know, options like if you want very simplified characters that only have 3 abilities, if that you can make right away. If you want a character who is literally has 0 in every ability and is, you know, completely gormless, we have an option for that. And again, yeah, we have character class options as well. Right.
You know, what I was going to mention real fast is on the Modern Age Mastery Guide. I dropped a link in the channel to gnomestew.com. Their review, it was so good, so well done, and they, you know, spoiler alert, they recommend it as what did they say? Checking. The short of it is that they said it's recommended, which is great, and they just really get into the nitty gritty and get real crunchy about it. But I also dropped a link to your profile at the greenronin.com website so that people can see your when the developer plays series. It's phenomenal. One of my favorite things to read is, you know, anything that you come up with, because you come up with some stuff that is just, I love it.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah, it's good. It's good reading, and so you can see all of you know, Malcolm's contributions to the blog there. Going to, you know, back to your, what was your very first? I wonder. Do you remember what your very first blog post was?
My very first blog post for Green Ronin? Oh, geez, no clue. Probably something about how this game I'm working on called Modern Age is coming real soon now, and there's stuff in it. So.
I'm trying to get to the you are a prolific writer.
Well, the thing is that I've always felt okay knocking off a blog article because among the many jobs I've had in the past, I did marketing blogging for ages and ages. So, you know, if someone wants 500 words on something, it's like, and it's done.
It's done. However, it's good too.
Some things are better than others. I think the mashup articles are my favorites.
Oh yeah, they're great
with the setting stuff. I especially like the Modern Blue Rose one. That was a real fun one to do.
Yeah, it was good. Well, so I'm looking at this. Your first, it appears, your first blog post, March 6th, 2017.
Yeah,
you're just a baby. Orc again.
Oh yes, that was. In addition to working on Modern Age, I also did finish up development for Orc, the role-playing game, 2nd edition, which is actually a really fun and solidly put together little system, to the point where I privately noodle with designs for a serious version of that game for just sort of sweaty sword and sorcery fantasy. So nice. Yeah. Plus, it has everything you need to play a complete campaign. Like, it has an adventure series in it.
No, that's great. Yeah.
But anyway, yes. So we've got the mastery guide, and that is super cool. And it's there for pre-order, and it is about to be in stores and things. It also has a ton of contemporary play and game mastering advice. And I was very happy with the wide range of perspectives I got. For example, we had some stuff written by Nicole Winchester, who has very deep experience doing LARPing and doing highly intense, serious role-playing. Right. So she was able to bring her perspectives. Will Sobel, who, used to be our marketing fella, and is very deeply embedded into pop culture, use those inspirations to talk about party building, and one of my favorite people to write GMing advice, Howard David Ingham, who is very familiar with kind of working with cultural things that cause stress, because Howard, they happen to be one of the foremost experts on folk horror.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did a bit of writing about game mastering with an emphasis on kindness. So I'm really happy with all of that stuff. However, it's already 5:30, and I have to tell you about more stuff.
Let's do it.
So I think, is that Yeah, that's everything that is like, pretty much, you know,
It's
about
kind of,
to materialize.
yeah, that's kind of a good last year's work in a
Yeah.
compact package. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, that it's here, it's about to be here. Now, when it comes to what's coming, we have a couple of things. The first one to mention is we did a series of adventures for Threefold, the Threefold setting called Five and Infinity. And, you know, um, they're great, fun adventures. There are 5 of them, but in addition to the 5 adventures, which are linked together a little bit so that you can run them independently or as a campaign. And they take you from, I think, first level to 16th level, right? There's, the Megan Fitzgerald wrote this great, destroy the universe sort of adventure. And Crystal Fraser wrote this great adventure where you're gambling for souls in hell.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, there's Threefold has so many weird things you can do. It's fantastic. But in addition to those, we also had, I believe, the adventure generator, and that was Jesse Hennig again, which gives you a series of tables that allows you to generate the outline of adventure. But in addition, and this is something that's new that's going to be in the collected version, Steve Kenson did something that allows you to roll up different planes of existence, so different heavens and hells and alternate Earths, within the Threefold's structure of planes. I'm not going to get into the deep arcana of the setting because we don't have time for that. But I think one of the biggest challenges of the game is that there are some places where you can just, you're in one of the described planes in Threefold. There is an area that is just full of gates to other worlds, right? So sometimes you will be caught off guard when somebody steps through and goes, okay, where am I?
Sure. Hi.
So this provides some tools to kind of help you get there. So we've
Cool.
got that coming. Then, except for one adventure that is all about tax fraud law, utterly mundane, but that. Okay, it's funny you should mention that, Rain, because I ran an adventure kind of like that. I think, what was it? I think it was for NorwestCon. But in that adventure, they, are following around a civil servant who is on vacation and is kind of bad at being on vacation. A lot of stuff in Threefold. I'm very inspired by Star Trek for it. There is kind of a fantasy Star Trek vibe. Like you can even have cool badges. So this was my Captain's Holiday tribute.
Nice. Well, real quick, I just want to say I showed I dropped the link to the Five and Infinity series, and the adventure generator, which is the chapter 0, is free.
It is free, so check that out.
Yeah, drop that link in the chat for everybody. So check that out. But
we do have plans to eventually release that collected with some other stuff in print. But the next hardcover is Modern Age Powers, and that is one where the lead designer is Steve Kenson because he kind of knows about how powers work in games. Because
a little experience there, yeah.
Yeah, well, I know people aren't aware of these obscure games he's worked on, like The Expanse or like this thing that's called Mutants and Masterminds or something.
I think it rhymes with Mutants and Masterminds.
I think it rhymes with Mutants and Masterminds.
Yeah.
And, so it wasn't originally the plan, but Steve ended up doing so many of the chapters, right, that, that was obviously, him. But he's not the only one. And this one and one thing I got to emphasize just to modulate people's expectations, it is possible to use those rules to run a superhero game with Modern Age. However, it's not going to be an M&M type of game. I think I think the powers are more suited in a lot of ways for, Arrowverse level stuff, if you're familiar with that. Except for Legends of Tomorrow, where I can guarantee nothing if you've ever seen that show.
Right.
But yeah, and also we do kind of stick to some of the power stuff that we've previously discussed in Modern Age. So the rules for Magic, extend the existing rules for Magic and have new Arcana and spells, and it's the same for Psychic powers. You've seen a version of this system before in the Companion, a truncated system for other powers, and this kind of expands it using the same basic principles with more examples. The thing that I think is super cool, though, that's in it is we have a whole big chapter of extraordinary items. And one of the things with Modern Age that, see, here's my thing. I hate making magic items and loot, but I love getting magic items and loot as a player, right? So,
right.
So we finally have a chapter that has a bunch of that stuff. So I'm pretty chuffed about it. And that again is, it's in layout right now. And it's just being noodled through before it goes through the mysterious production process. Don't ask me about it. I'm not smart enough. I'm only a creative person. The smart.
Well, I wanted to. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, the smart people do production and ops.
Oh yeah, I mean they're. I mean, I as a person as part of the ops team, I will tell you, I am not as brilliant as our most brilliant, or even our least brilliant member, which is, I guess me. No, what? I don't even know. Here, I wanted to say something real fast, Malcolm.
Templar's the guy who always really gets me.
Yeah,
because of just the amount of things that he has to remember and track, and the things that he has to know about international shipping and where specific vessels are. That's the thing that just
that guy. I mean, and honestly, the ability to step into a inferno of of tension, and there's something's not coming in the right ship, or the ship has been renamed, or it's sunk in the Bermuda Triangle, and he's got a scuba dive to go get it. Like, I mean, he's on top of it,
and he explains this to everybody as part of his job, like to anybody who asks, and that just blows my mind.
Yeah, he's a treasure. Absolutely.
Even his hair got better during the pandemic, which kind of annoys me.
Yeah, why is it so luscious?
Yeah, I'm losing handfuls of it here.
Same.
And he's like,
yeah, it's the tension, I think, is making him
into a 1992 grunge band lead.
Right.
And anyway, I'm sure everybody is really interested in how much we like Dylan. But moving on.
And his hair, but no, but I do love to. Yeah, real quick, I want to throw out just a little information for folks who are looking to onboarding to a new sort of RPG, a tabletop role play game, can be tough. If you see something, you really like it, you want to get involved, you want to play it. But if your interest in the book is just you, so it can be difficult to really get the context of some of these rules or some of the things. And the Age system, the adventure game engine, powers Fantasy Age, Modern Age, The Expanse, Blue Rose, and Dragon Age. And but there's a community of people that are hanging out on Facebook, and they're really nice. They are a good group. I was just contacted today, as a matter of fact, that the Facebook group is right now at 993 members, and it's active, they're engaged, they are super fun. And if you go and you be a part of it, we're going to give away some stuff at 1,000. We're going to give away some Modern Age
there
prizes.
need to be 1,000 members now, don't there?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be very persuasive. Come on. Come on. All right.
Yeah, that works. I would. I'm gonna create a whole new Facebook account and sign up myself. But yeah, head over to the link that I dropped in chat, and if you're not a member, just sign up. I know Facebook is insufferable, but these are the places that make Facebook, as vital as it is.
Well,
Yeah,
now in the current situation, we mostly deal with degrees of insufferability
that's true. Yeah,
in all of our lives.
that is very true. I wonder what this degree would be as far as Facebook goes in general.
Compared to some of the other things that have been happening.
Yeah,
I think the pain is slight.
Slight. Okay. All right. We'll take that. We'll take that.
And is there any better way to promote something by saying the pain is slight?
I really think if you set the stage, it's just a pinch. So head on over for just a slight pinch and join the community, the Age RPGs community. When it gets to 1,000, you may win a prize. So there you go.
All right. There's one more thing I want to talk about, and I have mentioned this on a couple of appearances, and that is this thing that I didn't want to do, but everybody else wanted it, so I ended up doing it. Wow, what a great quote to accompany what I'm saying.
Now the degrees of insufferability here is like, I mean, it's
okay. So zero. That is, everybody likes cyberpunk.
Yes,
but I have been concerned. I've been kind of concerned about diluting the mission of this system and things like that. But things kept sliding that direction. So finally, I decided, all right, we're going to do a little cyberpunk supplement. So that's something that's coming this year, and it's called the Cyberpunk Slice.
What?
And it's called the Cyberpunk Slice because it is a very focused supplement that is primarily rules oriented, that tells you how to run a cyberpunk game. And it has rules for cyberware. It has rules for body swapping. It has new talents and specializations and focuses. It has powered armor. It has metal arms. It has drones. It has automation. It has rules for branding, because branding is a big thing in the cyberpunk genre.
Oh, like a metal brand that you kind of put it against your one of your buttocks, and it's sort of like the Circle K or something.
That's the tiny pinch.
That's the tiny pinch.
No, I mean, like corporate branding.
Oh, yes, right.
And this is, I felt the need to throw that in because, as some of you may or may not know, and probably don't, I actually, science fiction studies was one of my concentrations in university. So I'm a big fan of cyberpunk as a genre, and I know a bit about sort of its historical context, and how it basically came about in a Texas writers workshop, and about how that one of the literary goals of cyberpunk, just be fascinated by me segueing into the writing style of 80s cyberpunk here for a second. The way the kind of one of the objectives of cyberpunk as a literary form was to create these things called eye-kicks, which was extremely efficient, dense prose that would kind of create a sensory experience in that it was as big or as comprehensive as possible, compacted into as few words as possible. And branding was one of the tactics that cyberpunk authors used for that. For example, in the beginning of, I think it's Mona Lisa Overdrive, one of the characters is being followed around by a brown drone, right? Like Brown, the company that makes coffee machines. If you think of kind of the rounded 80s plastic sleek look of what those, what Brown items look like. Right. And the idea is that just by evoking a brand, that immediately gives you something to see in your head. You construct a physical reality just by evoking a brand, which is really fascinating and also kind of scary, because of course that means that these brands are living in your brain. rent-free. And in fact, you end up paying them rent by buying their things. So that's something to consider. We also have some nifty rules for automation in that, including rules for gritty automation, which are terrible. And we also have rules for mitigating gritty automation, because the trouble is, if we look at what's happening with things like self-driving cars, and autonomous drones and things like that, one of the things that is common to all of these is, if they work properly, they have a very low failure rate. And I don't know how many people have seen this, but there are at this point firearms that within certain parameters never miss, because what happens is that you paint the target, but the bullet won't release until it's lined up with it again, right? And so far, these devices have, they've appeared as novelties on shooting ranges, and sometimes they're used by hunters, but they have these military applications. So when you combine all of these things, when you combine the intelligence that's used by drones, and what we expect cars to eventually do, and things like this, you get a very scary scenario, where a lot of where these things just work, and they work nearly flawlessly, unless there's some kind of technical malfunction. They're not like a person where you expect an error rate, right, based on the intersection of skill, chance, psychology, biology. Those things don't happen in machines. Now, where this applies to making it gameable or not is that, if I have a realistic drone in a cyberpunk game that's armed, it shoots you and kills you. If there's a line between you and it just does that. So obviously this is the kind of thing that is not exactly, tabletop RPG friendly. So, I really went on about this bit, didn't I?
Oh, people love it. Yeah, go on.
But I wanted to confront that instead of kind of going, we're just going to pretend that part of the future won't ever happen, right? And that's the same with a couple of other things. For example, one of the constant challenges in designing cyberpunk style stuff is how augmented we allow bodies to be, right? And in the past, we have had, solutions where too much stuff, too many cybernetics or too much whatever is bad for your mental health, or too much of it drains some mystical thing, right? So we have those examples. One of the things I was aware of, though, is, there is some weird intersection between attempting to do things like that and things like, disability discourse, because there are real people who use assistive devices and who have artificial limbs and things like that. And certainly, it's not sapping the essence of their soul, and it's not making them mentally ill. So we have some discussion about how that works. In our approach, it's simply a matter of using a character advancement that you might use for something else. So while you can, perhaps approach these other options, and we do discuss them, by default, we have a specific way of doing it that I kind of hope deals with those issues. Right.
Okay.
And all that in a very short format. And the reason it's in the short format is essentially because when I was working on, I don't know if people remember Fantasy Age Trojan War that came out last year. I discovered I really liked working in that style. And also the best part of it is I can hammer out stuff. And then when I get really tired, I make Steve do the rest.
Well, yeah.
So in this case, it's about half me and half Steve, and I love working with him.
A true
And,
talent, yeah. Just I mean, just end to end, just a wonderful human being with
Yeah.
just incredible talent. Yeah.
So I discovered I really liked working in that shorter format, and people seem to respond positively to it, and I kind of like that because I miss that format as something that appeared in stores. Now this is probably gonna be PDF Pod, and there's one more thing. Us releasing Cyberpunk Slice does not mean that we're never gonna release something bigger covering this ground.
Well said. Yeah. And real quick, just to backtrack, when Malcolm says PDF pod, it means print on demand. So I mean, and the print on demand stuff is pretty nice. I mean, it is. They've improved over the years.
Yeah. People have been pretty happy with Trojan War.
Very, yeah.
And with the the Lost Citadel conversion book. Too.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it came out really nicely.
Yeah,
print on demand. Yeah, but okay. Well, awesome.
So Nicole's talking about.
Yeah, I shared that a little earlier.
Underground. Ray is the master of all dungeon masters over at Wizards right now. I think legally, if he sends you a letter saying you have to change something in your D&D campaign, you have to obey him.
Just from him, yeah, just because of
him.
Yeah.
But he also made this great game called Underground, which is a dystopian kind of semi-cyberpunk game that is frighteningly relevant now in some ways. But yeah, I getting a fax on their belt, holstered fax machines in the middle of battle to tell them their corporate sponsors have changed.
That is something.
I think we could do that. Actually, I think we could do that because the branding rules are kind of based on the reputation rules in modern age. So, you could be a character with a brand and actually have your brand swapped out. Except I didn't come out with that idea. I'm just stealing that from Ray via Nicole. So thanks.
Yeah, that's the way the creativity superhighway works.
It's true.
Yeah, but if you look back on any of the movies, branding is huge, or any of the genre specific media. But I was going to ask you real quick, related to that, how much work will there be in setting the tone, in setting that sort of is it because it can be dystopian kind of feel, or it can, we
talk about it a little. There is a GMing section that talks about it in historical context and what the classic features of cyberpunk are, and also how they've changed, because even though I like 80s classic cyberpunk, I mean, the genre's been around a long time. The funny thing, though, to go back to 80s is I remember an interview with William Gibson where he said that his work was basically optimistic because he was writing it in the 80s about the future and humanity was still alive.
There you go.
Just like one of the things,
setting the bar for the future.
Well, I mean, that was us graybeards, gray hairs did spend a lot of time in the last Cold War,
preparing for nuclear,
and one of the things that happens in the Sprawl trilogy, in that classic trilogy that is Neuromancer, Count Zero, Mona Lisa Overdrive, is the background is that a nuclear war did occur. Ducking, covering, that's right. Oh geez, I don't think we were there exactly, but we did get told, I think I did watch the old odd film about lying in a ditch and throwing an old door over yourself or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Lying in a ditch. And then, but for me, now we didn't really do any of the drills. I vaguely remember something like when I was in kindergarten, but what always, kind of bothered me was the driver safety videos that were made in like the early 50s or something. They were just awful, black and white, and they were just like, so you want to drive, and it was very bad. Like, they kind of showed car wrecks and the whole thing. But and I'm just saying, we're rough on kids in school.
Directly into nuclear blast. That's great advice, Nicole.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and that's I do remember that. That, and also I had a real tension around quicksand. I
Oh
just
yeah.
there's
Well,
just
everybody, yeah.
not a lot, right? But I mean, there's not a lot of quicksand. I've never seen some personally, but I was ready for it.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's you're talking about 50s stuff, and I was actually thinking the other day, when I was growing up, it was sort of the tail end of when all of those pop science books from like the 50s and 60s were in school libraries, but they hadn't been updated yet. So, when I was a kid, I'd read all these things about like, Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, about how someday there was going to be a space shuttle and it would be called the X-20 Dinosaur, right? And also how there would be a moon base by 1980. And it would be powered by nuclear fusion. And it just blows my mind kind of the difference between those lofty expectations combined with a little bit of militarism, all right, more than a little bit of militarism, right, that came through like the intense Cold War period, that we kind of consumed growing up. And then it's weird how both the aggression and the sense of technological progress changed, right?
Yeah.
And became much more diffused. I'm not going to get into specifics, as this isn't a political broadcast. But I always wonder, about the potential for settings based on that, especially based on like, the big space exploration. I know that there's that show, I haven't seen it, on Apple TV called For All Mankind.
Oh, I've heard of it. I've not seen it myself.
Yeah. And that kind of dovetails into like one of my recent interests have been in sort of, really detailed alternate modern settings, ranging from, alternate history to like very alternate settings like Disco Inferno. I think there's a game called Ace Combat that has something like that too, where it's a radically different setting.
Disco Inferno?
Disco Elysium.
Oh, Elysium. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
The opposite of Disco Inferno. If you're good, you don't go to Disco Inferno. You go to Disco Elysium. My older son has really recommended that game, but I haven't had a chance to give it a go myself.
I see it's on Steam. The aesthetics for it are great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, and believe me, Stephen, we have side-eyed Damnation Decade with some notions from time to time, but nothing very firm, I'm afraid. But certainly stuff like that I just find fascinating, and I like the way modern age can support it. I like the way the threefold setting supports it. I know we've in the campaign I'm playing, we've gone to a few alternate Earths, and my GM, I love it when we trip over the thing that tells us how this world diverged from the Earth we know, because it's very much that, well, I've been waiting to tell you this cool stuff, right? Like, when during the golden age of Islam, what actually happened in this world was da 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 da. And I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like about role playing in general is that it gives people a chance to really let that flag of nerdy, obsessive micro interest fly.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
They can make it relevant within this context, and you're controlling fictional people whose lives may depend on it. So it's just fascinating stuff, right?
I'll tell you what. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go first.
No, I was going to wrap up here because we are right at 3:00. But Malcolm, did you want to finish your thought real fast, or we want to
No, I
save?
forgot what it was, so it's a convenient time to stop.
That's my superpower, friend. My superpower is just to knock you right off your train of thought. But I want to say, Malcolm, thank you so much. Always a delight. And looking into the year 2022, so many things coming. And I'd love that we do more of this with you on a regular basis. Maybe we talk about, a regular cadence of with a new sort of look for ThursdAGE when it gets into the modern age side of things. And I kind of like it. I kind of dig it. But
I've got
go for it.
Question for everyone before we go.
Oh yeah.
Modern age is getting pretty complete as a line. So I had a kind of structure in mind to do stuff with it. So I guess my question is, what kind of stuff would you like to see for modern age, you the audience, right? That hasn't been done. And for age generally, regardless of genre. Keep in mind, we already know you want a science fiction game called Space Age.
Yeah, wait, I've never heard that request. Interesting. But so think about that, folks.
And licenses, because
right, yeah,
that means you wish that I could go and have a conversation with someone and beg them for something, which is a little less tenable.
Not your favorite gig. But think about that, folks. If you've got ideas for age, modern age, or fantasy age, or just something that you think that you've been pining away for, this is your invitation. Send a note to letsplay@greenronin.com, and what we will do is forward that information to Malcolm. Send that note. And Jonesy says more setting slices.
I'm kind of wondering if a post-apocalyptic setting slice might be fun.
I'm a post-apocalyptic nerd. I love it. I just something about that. I don't know what it is. I think it's like it's comforting for some reason.
That's true. And of course, I want to do more threefold. Yes, absolutely. I will be busy with a very large unannounced project.
A very large unannounced project.
A very large unannounced project. It's hundreds of pages long, and I'm not going to say anything more about it. But
let's. About it. Yeah, I don't even want to joke because I don't want to accidentally,
Yeah, you don't want Tom Holland that.
No, I do not want to. No, I do not want to. And I'd be the one to do it. Hey, Malcolm, again, thank you so much for hanging out. For everybody in the chat, thank you for your contributions and for sharing. Do check out this coming Monday. We have our Mutants Masterminds Monday, where Crystal Fraser, Steve Kenson, and myself, and who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting Alex. Alex Thompson. Come hang out with us. We have Tom. I love the guy, seriously, and I always get his last name weird, but Alex is a dear friend. All of them are, as are the people that hang out with us during that program. And we talk Mutants and Mastermind stuff, and we got some great stuff coming up. And then following Thursday will be ThursdAGE. We'll have Owen Casey Stevens, and I'm going to work on Malcolm and see if we can't get have you appear a little more frequently in 2022, because we sure like you.
Oh, shucks.
Ah, shucky darns. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. I am moving, and so I will be literally unplugging this machine after this live stream and bundling it up. Jonesy ends with this Super Spy Slice. I like the sound of that.
Oh, there are a couple of systems bopping around. Anyway. Yeah.
Anyway,
you're running late. You need to unplug your computer.
I do. It's 3:05. You get 5 extra minutes of us today.
Right, well, that's it.
Yeah, that's all you get.
Thanks for coming by, folks. And you all have a wonderful day, evening, week, month, year,
life. Yeah. Bye.